Thank you for being with us today. This is the Highway Network.
Hey guys, it's Hybrid.
And this is the White Sheep.
And yeah, this one is, we mentioned before on our last one that the next two would not expect them. This one is Taskmaster.
Taskmaster.
I can't talk.
No, you can't.
The guy
This
I cannot
bodes
pronounce
well
his
for
name.
me winning this.
Yeah, Taskmaster versus Sasuke Uchiha from Shonen Jump, more specifically from the Naruto manga itself. So this originally was actually going to be Wonder Man versus Invincible, because we had a few requests before for Invincible. Sadly though, it was all going to go perfectly, and I was making the stuff for it. I made everything for Wonder Man, and it was going great, and I was going to Invincible, and I was reading up on the recent stuff he's been doing, and I read up on the fact that basically now, recently, he has been powered up even more. So he's practically Silver Age Superman. Like,
Image is like going cray with
like
him.
he's going like 4 times the speed of light and all this crazy shit. And I was like, there's no way this is even fair to Wonder Man at all. So, yeah, with that being said, I was really, I wanted to do more like manga characters just to diversify it up, to not make it so much Marvel versus DC, which, you know, we've done Dark Horse, Image, IDW before.
I think we just want to mix like more other non-Marvel DC stuff in general. Like, we've done pretty good with getting IDW in there, and especially some Image and Valiant, but I think manga is another place where we've only really had like one matchup.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't give credit to mangas. You know, technically they're comic books also.
Yes, they are.
Just because they're called something else besides comic books doesn't mean they're not comic books. So it was really hard to come up with this one, not gonna lie. Characters in Naruto, just like characters in Dragon Ball Z, they're kind of unique in a sense versus other characters. So it's hard to find their kind of, not equal per se, but their alternate kind of character, if that makes sense.
Because sometimes in manga, I mean, they've got different standards for stuff. Nothing matches up exactly, and this is another one of those cases where it's not like a carbon copy and stuff like we do for some matchups. Where if we're doing something like Anti-Monitor versus Galactus, where they essentially serve the same purpose despite the different backstories. These guys don't really match up on a lot of things, but they cross over in one very important area. Like, and that is Sasuke's Sharingan, which allows him to, I guess, to put it simply, kind of copy people's movements and anticipate them. Or he doesn't copy their movements, but he can anticipate them.
And copy them.
To a degree.
I'll explain it more when we, I guess.
But also, Taskmaster has pretty much the same ability, which was given to him by like some secret Nazi serum. So,
yeah, it's not a perfect, you know, matchup, but where they do match up at is at places other people don't really match up at whatsoever, which does make them more similar than dissimilar, to say the least. CJ, would you like to go first?
I will actually go first. Okay, so Taskmaster. His real name is Tony Masters, which is, I guess, where he gets the master thing. His abilities, he has peak human condition, and that's really key. Like, I'm going to explain this in a little bit. He's got mimicry, which essentially means he can copy anything that he sees anyone do. It's literally like a combination of like the Intersect from Chuck and some Matrix shit. Because if he like sees it happen, it's like he's got it. It's downloaded. He's a master combatant. He's also an acrobat and a great strategist. His equipment, he has a lot of different guns, a sword, a shield, different weapons other than those, and a bunch of gear, including a body armor suit he wears with that cool kind of skull mask. Before I get into his strength and stuff, I kind of want to cover a little bit about his backstory, which is actually really interesting, and more recently they've made it kind of sad, you know, who he is and what he does. And he was a SHIELD agent, and he learned more or less, you know, or he... And see, I want to preface this by saying part of his backstory is tough because while he's been around in the comics for a while, we don't really know. Well, he actually doesn't really know what happens to him because they've added sort of this dimension to him where he doesn't just copy people's moves because he has to take in so much information and he retains all this information. He actually almost has like a form of Alzheimer's where he forgets like people and places and personal memories to make room for all these fighting styles that he's mastered, like Captain America, Wolverine, just to name two of the many that he's kind of absorbed. So I guess his official backstory is that he was a SHIELD agent, and he accidentally or was purposefully injected with some secret Nazi serum that gave him extraordinary abilities. But even before that, he was an athlete, very strong, very fast, pretty much literally the most peak human character in the Marvel Universe without the assistance of any machines, magic, or technology and science of any kind. Like, he's almost Captain America level, but he doesn't have the super soldier serum. So without further ado, let's just jump into his strength. He's maxes out at 440 pounds, which is a ton! It's like if we were talking about the matchup last week with Ninjak and Snake Eyes, those guys were like doing 350. And like Taskmaster is like 440. And that's unassisted by any sort of, I guess the special Nazi serum you might think was sort of like a super soldier thing, but it wasn't exactly that. That's what gave him the mental powers. But anyways, so 3 bars of strength, 440 pounds. That's a lot, folks. Speed, 3 bars, but with an asterisk to 2. So he's peak human, but with the mimicry, he can actually semi-copy people like Spider-Man, for example. He can kind of copy his agility, like even though it's not human and it's extraordinary because it's that of a spider. But he can only do that in short bursts, and it causes great physical strain on his body. So he can only do it a little bit at a time. His intelligence, 4 bars. He's gifted. It's part of the mental power that he has. Is he sees things, he absorbs them. It's not just fighting styles; it's also strategy and tactics. So he's actually sort of got a gifted bit there. Fighting, he's a master. And originally he would be 6 bars because not only is he just like super well trained, and in peak condition as an athlete and just generally as a person, he also actually really has when I say he copies people's fighting styles, he literally can copy their every move. He can mimic every move from Captain America with the shield, and that's actually why he has the shield as Captain America. He wanted to use that like Captain America, and so he could actually do everything Captain America would do pretty much, just not quite as strong even though he's close. Alright, so when I say he can copy people's fighting styles, he can actually literally copy them move for move. He's got the shield because he can mimic Captain America. He can make you, basically, if you put him in a Captain America suit, and basically told him to fight you, you would think you were fighting Captain America. And so it's not just Captain America that he can copy. I'm going to list all of the characters right now that he can copy the fighting styles of perfectly. Ant-Man, Batroc, Black Widow, Boomerang, Bushwhacker, Black Lash, Black Lash actually, Black Knight, Black Panther, as mentioned, Captain America, Guinness Vel, Cable, Crossbones, Daredevil, Deadpool, Elektra, Falcon, Fatale, Firestar, Hawkeye, Iron Fist, Justice, Libra, Machete, and we just got to the M's, Moon Knight, Oddball, Power Man, Puma, Punisher, Razor Fist, Shockwave, Silverclaw, Silver Samurai, Spider-Man, Shatterstar, Swordsman, Tigra, Tumbler, U.S. Agent, Warbird, Wolverine, and Zaran. Or Zaran, however you want to pronounce that. So it's not like this guy, when we say Batman's copied 120 styles of fighting, small potatoes. Taskmaster can literally come at you like Batman, if you watched Batman fight. He can literally come at you like anything. He can adapt to any situation. And to a certain degree, it's like if you watch Sasuke fight, he can almost kind of by knowing what the opponent is going to do because he knows all their moves, he can almost anticipate in the way that Sharingan would allow Sasuke to anticipate. Durability, 3 bars, it's enhanced. And part of that is just gifted physique and experience and stuff, but he also wears body armor. And energy projection, he has none. So clearly a tough opponent for Sasuke here.
And this is where I come in. So I'll be taking Sasuke. I for quite some time actually used to read the Naruto manga. I read during part 1. I didn't really read what's called the Shippuden, or Shippuden, however you want to pronounce it. Shippuden. Anyways, I didn't really read part 2 that much. I've just recently really copied it. It's gotten really interesting, we're really going to the mythos of the Naruto universe at this point, which actually interestingly intersects with Sasuke, which I find interesting.
And actually, quick note, they're actually ending Naruto soon, so.
Yeah, they kind of have to with what they're doing right now with like the mother of the Sage of Six Paths. But anyways, Sasuke Uchiha, he is from the Uchiha clan. They're very well known for the Sharingan. I think most people, when they hear about Sasuke, they know about him because of the Sharingan. above anything else. But his abilities is enhanced speed, strength, durability. He's a master combatant. Enhanced senses, which does include the Sharingan. Mimicry, teleportation, energy projection, and manipulation. Also, his equipment. He has a sword, as you should be able to possibly see in the image on the screen. And obviously, Kunai and Shuriken, which are standard things that, you know, the ninjas in the Naruto universe use. I will talk more about the Sharingan when I get to the fighting part of his stats, but strength, it's max 400 pounds. He's actually considerably strong for a ninja like himself. Obviously, we had Rock Lee before, who's much stronger than Sasuke, but Sasuke still in his own right is pretty strong. Most ninjas obviously don't participate in weight training, so they're not necessarily like able to lift not only their own body weight, but double their body weight and a little bit more. Sasuke can lift about like 20 pounds over his body weight, or over 2 times his body weight, due to the fact that when he was with people like Orochimaru, for example, he got minor enhancements to make him a bit stronger. His speed, his max is technically teleportation, even though without teleportation it's a bit enhanced. He's actually pretty damn quick. He's always been quick, you know, from the beginning when he was younger. But, you know, over time, especially recently, with the abilities he's acquired, he's able to teleport if he needs to. So in a brief burst of speed, he doesn't really need to teleport, especially in a fight. Teleporting is really mostly just to, you know, obviously cover long distances, which in a hand-to-hand fight with Taskmaster, I keep on saying Masker, Taskmaster, sorry. So in a hand-to-hand combat, close combat fight with him, you're not going to really need to be teleporting around because you're already going to be near each other. His intelligence is gifted. If you've been reading the manga or even watched the anime, you should have gotten the idea that Sasuke is very, very smart. He's always been very brilliant ever since he was a little kid. A lot of that's also due to his determination and his will to, you know, in the beginning of the Naruto series, beat his brother Itachi. But, you know, he's just really carried that on with him. And he's been noted by a lot of people as being just purely very, very smart. So fighting, this is where I said before I'll talk a little bit about the Sharingan. I'll talk more about the Rinnegan when I get to energy projection. But fighting, Sasuke, he's all the way full bars. Obviously without the Sharingan, he's 6 out of the 7 bars. But with the Sharingan, he has the potential to master all forms of combat, fighting, martial arts, whatever you want to call it, just like Taskmaster can do it. But anyways, briefly getting on with the Sharingan allows the user to do the not so well known things people might not know is it allows you to see chakra to a limited extent. But by that I mean you can identify the user by their chakra. It's not as full blown as people like Neji, for example, because he has and I'll let CJ say it. Yes, CJ, I'll let you say it.
Your word is Byakugan.
Yeah, CJ took Japanese. I know Italian and Latin, so I'm not that great with the Asian dialects, even though ironically I keep on taking the manga characters. But anyways, yes, so he can, you know, kind of, to a degree, kind of see more, I guess a more appropriate term would be track people by their chakra, distinguish them by their chakra energy. Also, besides that, he can do something which I said most likely all of you guys probably know this, is mimic somebody, either their taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. He can mimic that. More so the taijutsu and the ninjutsu than anything else because it's easier to see and replicate. But he's able to replicate that and memorize that and use it for future reference. I think the most well-known example I can use that's along the lines of Taskmaster, is when he was fighting Rock Lee. He wasn't fighting Rock Lee at the time. He was watching Rock Lee fight, and he memorized Rock Lee's moves. And he ended up actually copying those and improving them. But he does have a limit to it, though, just like our opponent here does. If he physically himself cannot replicate the move to an extent, he cannot do that. It's one of those things where Rock Lee, for example, can do a crap ton of taijutsu stuff. Sasuke cannot replicate it 100% because his body physically is not as trained as Rock Lee's is to do those moves. So it's kind of like how Taskmaster, for example, he can copy Spider-Man, for example, right, and replicate his agility and all those feats, but he won't be able to do it to the same extent because he's not superhuman. So the last thing that the Sharingan allows the user to do is actually anticipate its opponent's next move. The way it's able to do that is similar to how it's able to mimic the opponent's, move. To put it simply, it notices the slightest of body movement that the opponent has, and from there it's able to basically break down what the opponent most likely will do next, and I guess kind of relay that to the user of the Sharingan. Now, there is a downside to this to a degree though, whereas if the user cannot like move quick enough, they're screwed still. Like, it's one of those things where it's like a second or two before the person's gonna move, so it's not like a truly precognition like thing. So kind of like spider sense in a way, where it kind of alerts the user of, you know, what the opponent's gonna do next. But, you know, it's to the degree where if you can't move out of the way fast enough, you're still screwed. Durability, it's superhuman with something called Sazano. I think I pronounced it right. You guys can feel free to correct me once again on my mispronunciations. But essentially, one thing he was able to do, the Uchihas have this especially with their Sharingans, is he can kind of make a humanoid-like figure out of his chakra. It takes a lot of chakra to do this. Sasuke has matured enough with it where he can actually make something called a perfect Susanoo, which is like armored up looking. It's really cool actually. We won't go too much into it because it's, you know, it make this video like 10 minutes longer, but you know, you guys feel free to look it up. It's really interesting. Without that though, his durability is enhanced. Like I said before, you know, he had brief enhancements, not anything like too major, but it's really brief stuff. The Susanoo though, it can kind of cover him, like a think like a Green Lantern shield in a sense. Not as strong, but think of it along those lines to give you a good idea. And for me, the most fun part to talk about, minus the Sharingan, is energy projection. His max is essentially all forms. It would go to several types of energy with just the jutsus, ninjutsus he can do in general, and then in genjutsus. With the Rinnegan, which he's recently acquired on his left eye, he has the ability now to use all nature types. Before, he was restricted to his nature type in particular, which is why usually you saw him doing a fireball jutsu or the Chidori. Or Chidori, I said Chidori. Chidori, sorry about that. But with the Rinnegan, he can use essentially any type of energy, which is really what I think gives him an edge over Taskmaster. Because while I think fighting-wise, it'd be really cool to see them fight each other, because they'll be copying each other's moves, learning from each other in a sense, adapting to each other. But where I think it'd really be interesting is to see how Taskmaster will do with all the jutsus Sasuke can use. Because, you know, we'll talk about this more when we get to the rebuttal phase of this video. But, you know, in a sense, it's kind of like using magic. That's also another wink to the matchup we're doing next weekend, or next week sometime. But, yeah, it's kind of like magic in a sense, you know, the jutsus that he's able to use. So that's all I'm going to say. We'll get much more meatier in our rebuttal. This rebuttal will actually be much more interesting than previous rebuttals probably, because we have a lot to not only discuss, but interesting stuff to discuss. So CJ, I'll let you go first with your rebuttal.
Alright. I know it's easy to look at the jutsu and say, oh, Taskmaster would really struggle against that. And you're not wrong. Jutsus are interesting. However, I would remind you Taskmaster exists in the Marvel Universe, where people do crazy and amazing and superhuman shit every day. So, plus, the thing that gives him an edge, I think, to most stuff is the fact that he could actually, you know, do the Sharingan thing. And he would completely, something that the Sharingan doesn't do, but he would completely know 100% all of Sasuke's moves just by watching him. Not necessarily in the way that Sasuke could anticipate, but he would understand all the moves and what he was going to do just by thinking like the person, because he can sort of almost discern up what a person strategizes like in battle just by watching video, just by watching, you know, even just watching them fight in person. So with jutsu, while he wouldn't be able to replicate the jutsu because he doesn't have those powers, he probably would be able to, like, I think, hold his own. He would be able to avoid, dodge, maybe even... another thing that hasn't been mentioned is the fact that Taskmaster has guns, which don't exist in the Naruto universe. And the Sharingan has been shown to actually... The Rinnegan is for sure negated in fog. So if he had a smoke grenade or something on him, that could help him out. The Sharingan actually is sort of hit or miss in fog. I know Kakashi... Rinnegan cannot. Rinnegan is negated in fog.
With the Rinnegan, just like the Eye Neji has, which I'm not going to try pronouncing it.
Byakugan.
Yes, they're able, you can't see like super clearly in fog. You can see the person's energy to an extent where basically you can see through fog.
It's questionable, because I know the Rinnegan has issues with fog. Sharingan 2 is hit or miss in fog. I guarantee you I did my research on this.
I did too.
Okay.
We all did
but
research.
that's a moot point then. Disregard. But
I hope Naruto Uzumaki comments because I see him on videos all the time.
I think guns would be troublesome for Sasuke, but I think that's another thing Jutsu would potentially, at least match up against. So I think this is a lot more even. I'm not even going to try and say Taskmaster would win overtly. I'm not even going to try to say he would win outright, because he really wouldn't. It would be a struggle. But I think he would be able to keep up, and maybe with guns be able to get what would in essence be like stealing a victory, just because, gat to the face. Gat. But really, that's all I got, because I think Taskmaster is a fairly simple character in the fact that he can copy your moves. So just by watching Sasuke fight within the first few minutes, like mere minutes, maybe even just a minute, he would understand Sasuke and the way he fights almost completely. And I think that would give him an advantage. So,
you ready for my rebuttal?
yes.
Yeah, I'm about to end the whole career right here, right now. So, why I think Sasuke would win. Now, while I will hand it to Taskmaster, he's faced, essentially at this point, everybody in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, not Marvel Cinematic Universe, sorry, Marvel comic book universe. With that being said, he's faced people like the Fantastic Four, so I'm sure fire-based attacks, he'd be like, oh, reminds me of the Human Torch. Or, other opponents, I'm sure he'd be able to make a connection, like, how did I fight them this time, versus what Sasuke would do ninjutsu-wise, with, because those are kind of obviously superhuman abilities. Like I said, it's basically like using magic. But yes, I think Sasuke would beat Taskmaster because, while Taskmaster has those photo-reflexive memories, he could basically do the same thing the Sharingan can to an extent. The thing I think Sasuke beats him at is that Taskmaster will only be able to memorize Sasuke's moves to a certain extent while also pushing back the other memories he's had before. Well, Sasuke doesn't have that weakness with memorizing stuff.
Taskmaster doesn't delete combat information, he deletes personal information, so he'll forget what he had for breakfast, but he won't forget any of Sasuke's moves. And in fact, if he was to forget something, he would forget something before the fight, none of Sasuke's moves.
Okay. Also, I'm pretty sure, and you cannot quote me on this, but you can read me on this, Sasuke will probably be a much more faster fighter than Taskmaster. And the fact that Sasuke, with his melee weapons, like his sword, for example, his kunai, he can use his chakra and his jutsus, and I guess also alternatively to enhance them. So his sword will turn into an electrical sword, which he's done in the manga tons of times.
I will say, Taskmaster has also fought faster opponents than himself, and he can match that speed. Speed is one thing that he can match, albeit for short amounts of time.
Sure, I'll give him that. But yeah, I do think that this is a closer fight than I anticipated it being, now that we're actually doing it. But I do think Sasuke in the end would end up winning just due to, his range of abilities with his jutsus. I haven't even fully tapped the abilities he can do with the Rinnegan and Sharingan, just because he won't really use that type of stuff unless he has to at first. I'm sure when him and Taskmaster are first fighting, he will not just whip out the Sharingan, especially because initially the Sharingan was really draining on chakra reserves. Now I know he has a crap ton of chakra he can just draw upon. But, really, you guys comment below who you guys think would win. Taskmaster does have guns. While I have no doubt in my mind that Sasuke would be able to dodge a gun if he were able to anticipate the gun. Maybe when Sasuke first ran into Taskmaster takes out a gun, Sasuke wouldn't be able to dodge it. I don't know. Because like I said before, there's no, or CJ said this before, there's no guns in the Naruto universe, so we don't really know how they respond to that. But I'm sure, Sasuke, he has shown enough speed feats. I'm sure he would be able to dodge a bullet, especially once he saw, something was coming out of the gun, like projectile-wise, because he's dodged projectiles before, either from a ninjutsu or whatnot. But also, another thing I've not gotten to yet is genjutsu. Taskmaster is not impervious to genjutsu to any degree that I know of, which is basically messing with your mind.
It's illusion.
Yeah, illusion. So Sasuke could make an illusion and just totally screw with Taskmaster, which would actually be really funny to see what Sasuke comes up with. And yeah, I'll let CJ interject.
Taskmaster actually is well known for being able to see through illusionists, magicians, and expert poker cheaters. So I feel like he would be able to figure out whatever, and I'm doing hand motions here, sleight of hand, sort of genjutsu stuff.
Like I said, this was much closer than I anticipated. So yeah, like I said, comment below your guys' thoughts. I know a lot of manga fans out there, Naruto fans, you will whip out the droves of jutsu Sasuke could use to kill Taskmaster.
Oh, I'm with you. My stepbrother would, like, he's going to watch this and he's not even going to give me a chance. It's over in his mind. It's over in a lot of people's mind.
Yeah, a lot of people, as soon as they see this, they're not even going to listen to what we're saying.
I think Taskmaster gets a lucky shot. That's what I think. I think guns help a lot. They're good at killing.
Well, I think if this stays strictly to a hand-to-hand combat fight, maybe some genjutsu, not a lot of ninjutsu, that'd be really cool. Because
to pull out jutsus, they're gonna pull out a pistol.
Well, yeah, because like one thing I have noticed, which I give you full right to do, you can whip out as many grenades, guns as much as you want if Sasuke can use jutsus. But a lot of people think that Sasuke would just straight up rely on jutsus. That takes a lot of energy to do some of these jutsus. So no, he would not just straight up whip out jutsus. He would fight first, jutsus if he needs to. But yeah, like I said before, like I've said 5 times now, I think. I keep on wrapping up and then saying something else.
It's okay. I think we should wrap up. Let's leave it to you guys. Comment below who you think would win. It's very, very even. You didn't think it was going to be even. I said it might be. So. And
I'm just going to say this now because I would love to hear what you guys think it's going to be next. Naruto will be in the next one. But I want to hear who you guys think he will fight. Because trust me, it took me 3 days of meditating straight to find someone that would go up against Naruto. It was a pain in the ass to do. So I would love to hear who you guys think he'll go up against. And no, it is not, it's not an easy one to find. So if you guys actually get it right, I would be very surprised.
If you guys get it right, I would say we might have to consider,
you win a cookie.
Doing something for you. But don't quote me on that. Just guess, though. All right, so I guess signing off. This is the White Sheep.
This is Hybrid.
Hybrid sound, baby.